Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
Sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening, and with me, as always, is Hanno and Brian. Hi, guys.
That's Brian and Hanno.
He's right. I should always get top billing. Yeah,
absolutely. Get it straight.
Well, it's Hanno and Brian on my screen right now. So, yeah. Hanno, you're on the left. You get red first. So
well, that makes Brian right.
Yep.
Well, that's where you should always be.
That's right.
Now, quit trying to derail me.
Nope.
How are you doing?
Who wants to go first this time?
Oh, fine. I'll go first. You tricked me into it again.
Yes, tricked. we just didn't do anything.
Uh-huh.
That was a big plan.
Or did we? Yeah.
Let's see who can't stand uncomfortable extended silences.
I have a whole podcast of it, so you know it's not going to be me. All right, so how was your week, Jen?
As you can tell, we're in an amped up mood tonight. But everything has been pretty good. My week went fine. There wasn't any issues. I am doing really well with, I did cut one of my meds out, and I didn't talk to my doctor yet about it, but I know I'm getting disapproving head shakes from Brian.
Hanno, I feel like we're going to have to introduce a soundboard to this program.
You're right.
Because I feel like we need
think so.
a few things, like boo or whatever.
Yep. I will have the iPad ready for next week.
I will say.
The time has come.
Yep. You
This
forced
is
our
a
hand.
Yes, exactly.
This is a voluntary add to my medicine.
Yeah.
And I went to the doctor and I did ask him to give me something extra
Mm-hmm.
because I was getting too emotional.
Mm-hmm.
That extra he gave me made me way too flatlined.
Yeah.
So I just took the extra off.
Okay.
So I still have something for my highs and I still have something for my lows that I'm taking.
Right.
So I've got my bases covered, and he was fine with the setup of my meds to begin with.
Yeah.
It was just me that wanted a little extra and decided that little extra was just too much.
Mhm.
So there's my justification, be it right or wrong. That's what I'm going to story. I'm going to stick to it. But with that said, yeah, I've been a little bit more emotional, but it's been good stuff. I haven't really been in a situation or anything that's been too bad, and the feeling, allowing myself to have feelings is always a good thing. Feelings are kind of important in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just a little bit too flatlined because I was on, I talk about everything else, might as well. I'm on Wellbutrin and Abilify, and then I added Prozac, and Prozac was just too much.
Oh.
It's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
makes some sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and my doctor and I had a good conversation of Prozac, the pros and cons and stuff of it from the beginning. So I kind of knew what I was getting into. And that's why I feel pretty comfortable. I was good with Wellbutrin and Abilify. Abilify does the highs, Wellbutrin does the lows. And I was good with both of those, and strictly both of those for a long time.
Mm.
And I think that getting the extra the benefits do not outweigh the negatives outweigh the benefits on that one.
Right.
So not a good fit for me.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah. So then, and then I had to take my babies in because Otis, my one dog, ended up having to have a double ear infection.
Oof.
So yes, so he had to go into the vet's office, so I had to get him taken care of and stuff, which is always fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He enjoys the vet, so I can't say it's too unpleasant, but so my day of rest turned into day of running dog to the vet, then running over to get my hair done. Then the following day, running around and having to run errands and do just random stuff. So one thing led to another thing, and to another thing, and work, and that, and the other. And those that had known me know that when I get to that point, I have to hibernate, I have to isolate, and I didn't get an opportunity to isolate. And just be, especially with my husband being off from work right now with his wrist surgery, it's been very difficult for me to kind of get a good chunk of time. So I ended up having an entire day to myself with nobody in the house, just me and the dogs, which the dogs I can deal with, but just me and the dogs for over 24 hours. Thought that was exactly what I wanted. About hour 15, 16, I'm like, I'm getting kind of lonely. Which cracked me up because I'm like thinking, dude, really? This is what I've been jonesing for almost a month now. I finally get exactly what I think I need, and then, boom, I don't want it. Not a metaphor for life. I don't know what is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I found that was kind of an interesting turn of events. But thankfully, to the wonderfulness of the internets, I was able to reach out and have some conversations with a few different people and pass my evening, and all was good. So that's about it. That's about the excitement of my week. So I don't know. I would say my win is really just staying in touch with myself and knowing what I need and what I don't need, and really seeking out solutions to those problems, not just sitting in it and walling on it and thinking about it too much. Just saying, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm going to do about it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, guys, who's next?
I'll go next, I guess. This is my week's pretty boring. I didn't do a whole lot this week. So, I go back this coming week for another testosterone shot. And, I'm noticing, I feel like my energy level has been on a slow rise. So, right. Yeah. And, I'm still not really noticing much else, but again, looking at the things I found online that say here's kind of what this is what normally happens with people. I'm right in that, right where I should be essentially. So, as long as it stays on that, I'm not concerned with it. But so yeah, I go back up Thursday for that, so that should be fun. And then Roxana's coming in again Thursday.
Yay!
Yeah, so we can. Yeah, so we can spend time for our birthdays. So yeah, this is the last episode of the Crazy Life I get to record in my 30s. So unless we record early or whatever, but yeah, it's so yeah, so that's
and on the door.
Yeah, but it doesn't bother me. Like age. Like I was telling Tony when we did Salty Language, I was like, the only reason that it ever is like leaks in my mind anymore is it's just the concept of as silly as this is, it's, the older you get, the more mathematically, the likelihood of death is like that kind of a concept. But
yeah,
that's just because my head's weird and does things like that sometimes. But for the most part, like I don't care that I'm going to be 40, it doesn't make a difference to me. I mean, nobody wants to get older, like that kind of old generally, but, whatever. So, not like I can really do much about it. So.
You gonna go to a Mexican restaurant, get your free tequila shot, and wear your sombrero?
Ugh, no. Both of those things sound terrible. Especially.
Get white girl instead?
No. Especially not on tequila.
Yeah, tequila and flan.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yum.
Busy. If I'm going to get drunk on anything in a Mexican restaurant, it's probably just going to be the food.
Fair enough.
Yep. But yeah, so that's, that's coming up obviously. So that's, it's something, whatever. Trying to think what else. That's about it. I really have done nothing this week. And no real reason for it. Like just been terrible. So, yeah, I think that's it for me. My win for the week, I guess, would be that, with the testosterone, I'm finding that it's getting easier to, when I wake up, to get out of bed right away.
Good.
And, which is huge for depression. Because if you wake up and feel like getting up, that's a huge jump start on that, because normally that's where depression, really, leans on you, is when you first wake up and it's just like, nah, but you stay in bed. Come on. Yeah. So.
Yeah. You don't have anything pressing right now.
What could be better than this? That's a good point. No.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
You make a solid argument there.
It's like, I don't like you, but dang it, you're right. So yeah, so that's been my thing for the week. Today I was pretty lazy, but that, honestly, I get when it's football season, I have a tendency of, like, sleeping on and off all day while watching football. So, that's been pretty much what I did today. Yeah.
I
So
think you're alone with that one.
no, I'm sure I'm not. Yeah. That's that's not
football behavior.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and that's not depression based at all. I mean, you know that, like, I've done this forever. It's just, it's just what I do. Because a lot of times, since I don't normally get up at noon or 1 o'clock, I'm usually sleeping past that point. Waking up then, and then I'm still a little bit tired, so I end up napping off and on throughout the games. So, yeah, so that's it for the week for me. I think so.
Oh, yeah, lay it on us. How was your week?
Arthritic.
Uh-oh.
Awesome. Oh, wait, no.
And not so awesome.
Yeah.
That was weird. I took on a project completely on my own volition at work and ended up being a lot of just physical days of pulling roots out of lawns, digging up big balls of roots and fungus and yuck. And anyhow, it was actually really good. It felt really good because it just felt productive.
Yeah.
But by Friday morning, I got up and my hands hurt so bad. I was like, wow, this really hurts.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's from grabbing and everything. And I'm like, I was feeling my fingers and I'm like my fingers didn't feel swollen, but it was in my joints. And I'm like, oh, that's arthritis.
Yep.
That's distinctly arthritis.
Yeah. Right.
Started laughing.
Yeah.
It's like, yep. Repetitive motion for several days. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, that'll do
Yeah,
it.
get up.
Sure.
It was a nice little reminder of you're almost turning 40. I'm almost turning 50.
Yeah. I know. It's why it's funny. I made a comment about turning 40 and my one brother's, over 50. And, I was like, I said something along those lines, like if you were doing that, if I was like, oh yeah, I'm feeling arthritis in my hand, and he'd be like, wait until,
Yeah, wait, yeah.
Like, enjoy it now, cause it's gonna get worse. Yeah.
I will say how, though, I still get, every so often, someone will make comments about my co-host. Henno is quite the hottie, so be knocking on 50, buddy, but you're still holding it together.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
You're still very popular in the 80 to 90 age bracket, Henno.
I do. Yeah, I excel there.
Yep. It's the graduate, but it's way different.
Yeah. But with this age comes some wisdom, and which leads me to my win for the week, which as I was sitting there digging up roots and stuff, there was an issue that started on Tuesday, because that's when everyone showed up for work because of the Labor Day weekend. And evidently there was, I thought one of our owners was there. I thought I'd seen their car. And so one of my coworkers was like, "Are you sure you saw that car?" I'm like, "Well, I didn't stare at the person. I usually don't pay attention. I mind my business and let them mind theirs."
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, yeah, I saw a kid and and that's usually they have, their son has a child, and, and they have a white Yukon or whatever it is. And so then there was this issue with a door being left open, and the developer, who we don't see very often, was in there, and he was kind of fired up, like, why did I find a door open? Why was this door open and all this stuff? And so on Thursday, I'm out there just digging, and my coworker, who's off of work for 2 days to take his son to a boarding school, calls me up and he's like, "Hey, I forgot to go in. Can you go check that car, make sure that it's in the garage?" Because everyone's freaking out and worried because they don't know, the son wasn't there at the unit. Now they want to know who was in the unit.
Right.
Why was it open? Why did I see a car? So I go in there and I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't think I saw the Yukon. I saw, the Escalade or something, because they're both, kind of a white color. And so I'm just talking with Sean, and he's telling me what's going on, and he says something in just the right way that I'm like, wait a minute, you said the cart was in the door? He's like, yeah, Rich said that the cart was in the doorway holding the door open. And I'm like, I made a note about that cart because I was in the unit a week before, like a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
We do unit inspections every week. And I'm like, Sean, I made a note that I wanted to go downstairs and check to see, because the carts usually aren't in their units, they're in their garages.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to make a note to see if it was our cart or their cart. And if it was, their cart, I just leave it in there, whatever. I don't remember pulling the cart into the doorway, but it was the realm of possibility that I did because, I just told Sean, I'm like, I made a note and he's just like, no, there's interior decorators and this and that. I'm like, no, Sean, I made a note I literally wrote it on my clipboard.
Right.
That, to check on this. And then I remember going down the stairs and there were some cardboard boxes that I picked up and took down to a recycling area. And I probably got distracted and forgot about it. I said, it was probably me.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just like, I'm like, just call him and tell him that. And he's like, no, I'm like, it's the truth.
Yeah.
Just call him and tell them that, that this is what most likely happened.
Yeah. So
he did. And he called me right back and they're like, they are so relieved right now. In the meantime, though, it was all this like, so-and-so calling so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. So, a little bit of, the hornet's nest got kicked up a little bit.
Yeah.
And especially when it's the developers of the property, and that kind of a thing. And so first thing I did is I went down and talked to my GM. He kind of heard something in the background, but didn't know what the story was. He knew Sean was stealing something. I'm like, I'm going to go talk to Rich. He's like, do you want to send an email? I'm like, nah, if I'm going to talk to Rich, I'm going to let him ridicule me right to my face. Because he's going to no matter what.
Yep. Just walk in the room and drop your pants, because the spanking's coming. Yep.
Yep. And he's like, you are lucky that I found it. And he's like, you owe an apology to Gary. And I'm like, I do. So I go downstairs. I'm like, John, you got Gary's email address. Because, Gary's in California. He wasn't around. So I just sent I owned it. Just owned it. I mean, I don't remember doing it, but it's.
Yeah.
It's like everything lined up just right. I was like, oh yeah, I was, by the cart. And so, I go, at first, I just had this feeling of calm. Like, I'm like, Sean, it's me. And I apologize to Sean. I'm like, man, I'm sorry you've had to deal with this for the last few days and phone calls and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I just didn't remember. I mean, it was, almost 2 weeks ago. And there was just kind of a sense of like no fear, no nothing. It's just the truth. And I love being in that place where I am comfortable in myself and who I am. I don't need to hide it. I don't need to cover it up. Something happens, it happened, and you own it. And if there's consequences, there's consequences.
Well, and the other side of that too is like by just flat out owning it up front, rather than, okay, let's just leave it, to where it could be anything or whatever, and it's just going to be riled up for a while, and then if later on they find out it was you, it feels like, in most things in life, it's worse, because you're like, well, if you thought it was you, why didn't you tell us, or whatever.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and that was the main thing. The whole thing in this was, there was a reason it was a hornet's nest is because there was a giant, I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. Mm-hmm. And Henna was a dummy is a better answer than we don't know. I mean, it is.
You're right. It is.
And it's like when I was telling my GM, he's like, well, is there something that we can do differently next time? I'm like, yeah, Henna shouldn't be a dummy. I mean, that's it. And John looked at me because John always looking for a solution or something that they can say, hey, we're going to try to do this next time. Yeah. And I'm like, no, the answer is this. I'm sorry it happened. It'll never happen again.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all there is. Yep. It's my error. Yeah. It's not about what can we do to make it better. There's nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're totally right.
The way things happen. Yeah. And so I sent the email and like when I was finally done for the day and I sit down to do my work orders for the day, and there's a response basically saying, thank you very much for your note, and what is it? What all's well that ends well. Gary.
Yeah.
Right? Done.
Yeah.
Move on. Everyone goes on their way. Nobody's freaking out about who got keys, where's this, what the, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, and today when I went into work, a little anxiety going back into work, but it's just the natural thing of like, nobody likes to mess up.
No.
Of course. Sure.
But it was like, no, go to work, do your job. That's the best I can do on a daily basis, is just do my best, try to be useful. Yeah. And that was like one of my high points of the weekend was we have an annual. So, it's a part of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it used to be called, H&I for hospitals and institutions. It's a separate organization, but obviously associated, and they've changed the name now to, it's a hilarious name. It's TSNAC. It stands for Treatment Special Needs, Accessibility, and Corrections.
Oh my.
Because they wanted to incorporate handicap, accessibility,
Sure.
and not just handicap, but also, people that are older, people that are in nursing homes, blah, blah, blah. But the idea being is that they bring literature and information and stuff into institutions. They're the ones that there's some just amazing stories where there's a guy in a prison. He only speaks and reads Russian, and they got him books to him. Okay. And then when he was leaving, he's like, can I, and like, so they had kind of a meeting there, and the people at the meeting reached out to the TSNAC rep, and the rep said, yeah, let's see what we can do. Got him a Russian big book. And, at the end, the guy's like, here, I want to give this back. And it's like, no, that's for you. That this is what this group does.
Yeah.
So every year in our area, we have a fundraiser, and, every year I go down and play music, or I bring all my equipment. I DJ at, I set up a mic, because they have speakers and this and that. And so I got to do it again this year, and I love doing it. I know it's been at least 5 years in a row. And now it's just not even a question, Chris or whoever's, running the thing, gets a hold of me, and, I'm like, yep, I'm there, mark it, and it's really cool. And this year, usually they bring a judge that's involved with either drug court or, or just one of the local magistrates or whatever it is. And they always have just really touching stories, because they really are about opportunities, especially the drug courts. It's like, we're trying to keep people out of prison. We're trying to get people to get their lives back in order. We're not looking, yes, you have to, you're going to get punished because you broke laws. But our goal is to take care of your obligation to the state, and let's get you healthy again.
Right.
And so I love hearing from those people, because we all fear. There's a giant fear of that, and I know I've heard a lot of stories is when you realize that, you have to you did something illegal, you have to own up for that, but these people are also, they want to see you get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great to hear. And so they're also, the cool thing is they bring a group from our local treatment center. It's called the Walker Center, and they come out. And, it's probably the first time that they get to leave compound. They're stuck there for at least 30 days, some as much as 90s. And this is their first time to go out, on a field trip.
Right. Yeah.
And they get to be around people that are sober and having a great time. And that's the point, So it's a great barbecue, and so that was the one thing I did this weekend that I just I love getting to do every year. And although last year and the year before, I kind of cleaned up in the raffle, but this year I only got one thing, and it was a cross with the Serenity Prayer on it. I was like,
right up here.
Would anybody mind if I painted it red and hung it upside down somewhere?
No, Hanno. See what that is that's a one less gift you have to buy for Christmas.
Oh Lord, who's good? It's funny. The first thing I thought about is, okay, who do I know that has a lot of religious stuff on the wall that would love this?
Yeah.
That I can gift it to.
Exactly.
A ceramic cross with the Serenity Prayer on it. I'm like, yeah. If it was a Buddha, awesome.
See, well, to each his own, It's
Right.
like to someone, I'm sure that's a lovely gift.
Yeah.
Exactly. Someone would love it. They think it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wanted the 40-inch TV.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, they had lots of toys.
TV.
Yeah.
That's a good prize.
Yeah, that was my it's like, it's weird to have something that I'm going to say it, I was proud of myself for how I handled it.
mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm proud of myself is because it was totally automatic, and that is not who I used to be.
That's
The
awesome.
old Hanno looked for the way out.
Yeah.
How could I minimize this? How can I deflect it? How can I somehow, not have to deal with this? How can I get out of this? And if not out of it, just minimize stuff. And it just wasn't even a question.
Yeah.
And I'm just so happy that is my automatic these days, because the other way caused me way more problems. Nothing good comes of it. It's like you said, it's just like when you finally do, it comes back down to, I'd rather ask for permission than forgiveness.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not to mention,
Because-
lying is baggage, or lying or covering
It is.
up or avoidance. It all creates
It's more
baggage.
anxiety.
Yeah. And it's like, as we've talked on here about, letting loose of control and stuff, it's like you're trying to over control a situation when really all you need to do is the simplest thing.
Yep.
Just tell the truth. And
That's it.
Cause like you said, it's just like when you're growing up, a lot of times if you do something bad, you don't want to tell your parents, so you lie, or you do something to kind of avoid it. Then when they find out, like with me, my parents were always more like, that was bad, you're going to get punished for that, but we're more upset that you lied to us about it.
Yep.
Because that's not who we want you to be, kind of a thing. And I learned that a while ago when I was working. The one DM I had loved working with me because if something happened, I would just be like, nope, we didn't do it. Here's what we're going to do. Just like you said you did, it's my fault. Won't happen again. And then make sure, do your best to make sure it doesn't happen again. It's just so much easier.
Well, when you tell the truth, we've talked about this before. Every time you have a communication between one person and another, it's passing the ball back and forth. So you say something, they pass the ball to them, they say something, pass the ball back to you, back and forth. Typical communication. When you lie, you are no longer passing the ball back and forth. When you lie, you're juggling that ball in the air. And occasionally the ball gets away from you and gets over to them, so they have to make a response, and that goes back to you. And then you're juggling, and every lie adds a new ball. So here you are juggling 3, 4, 5 balls in the air, instead of a simple basketball being passed between one person to the other person.
Yeah.
So the more you can get rid of all of those different balls that you're juggling and break it down to just the one, back and forth between you and that other person, it's just going to make your life so much easier. And then you don't have to worry about tripping and falling and, breaking everything and, just the mess that comes with lying and trying to uphold everything. Well,
yeah, and like I said, not just lying, but avoidance of any kind or covering up or any of that kind of stuff. Like if someone asks you or wants you to do something with them and you don't want to tell them no, so you come up with some other reason. It's like, well, now you have to remember that you told them that reason, because if later on they see you posting on Facebook that you're doing something else, their feelings get hurt. If you just say no and are honest with that kind of thing, they still may have their feelings hurt, but at least they'll go, well, they told me no, so it's just the best policy no matter what, if possible, And don't get me wrong. We all know there's some times where, for some reason or another, maybe you tell, a little white lie or something like that to, save some feelings or whatever. That's one thing, but just the bigger stuff is just so much easier. Just, yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's something with that I do like about the whole amends process in 12-step programs is if you're, because the amends it's really about it's about the other person. It's for the other person, but it's really, for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, it's having a chance to at least take responsibility for who who you've been. And the idea being is that this is an opportunity to never be that person again, right? To make a change. So even though it's for the other person, it's really your springboard to a new life. Right. And one of the things, though, is that if it ends up doing harm to somebody else, then you don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that whole idea, too, of like, sometimes we omit things because it's just better to.
Yeah.
Because it could cause harm to someone.
Mm-hmm.
However, if it has to do with somebody being helped by it, and like in this case, relieving some people.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. Relieving their anxiety. And so how much more selfish could it be for me to say, because Sean was there like, well, let's find, I'm like, no, let's not find out about it. I'd rather carry a little anxiety and relieve everybody else's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like a better deal.
Right.
Yeah. Especially, and the other part of it, it's also a workplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that for some reason for me at least, there's a different standard because what it comes down to is credibility.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
And if the end result is I don't trust that guy, hey, that's fine. At least I owned my stuff.
Yep.
And at least I told the truth. And if the result is that somebody doesn't trust me as much, hey, fair enough.
Yeah.
Because I made a mistake.
But on the flip side of that, somebody might trust you more going forward in a different situation because they know if they ask you, you'll tell the truth or you'll just own it if you did something, Like, they know you're not going to give them a line of BS or whatever to cover up or to, just keep yourself clean, type of a thing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, since we're having such a great conversation, I'm going to call an audible on this one. I switched our article up.
Okay.
So
what did you get?
The article that we're going to talk about today is How Does Lying Affect Your Mental Health? 10 surprising effects of telling white lies. Well, it's easy to see why lying might have some damaging effects on your life, since lies are sneaky, malicious, and often hurt others. But did you know telling white lies can have an impact too? While they may not carry the same weight as a major lie, these smaller fibs still add up and can even have an effect on your mental health over time. By nature of telling a lie, you're keeping a secret, therapist Lee K. Barrison tells Bustle. While we often keep secrets to push something away, the act of concealing, in fact, gives weight and power to a secret. Think of a time when you told a white lie. Did that thing that you were hiding seem to grow bigger, scarier, and become more real? This effect can transform a white lie into an uncomfortable, consuming experience. And that is why, even when it comes to telling little tiny fibs, they can still take the toll on your mental health. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are some instances where it might be okay to tell a white lie, and all of us tell a few silly ones daily. The truth is usually the way to go. Transparency feels good, Barrison says. When you practice honesty and drop the tendency to edit and censor, you can be more present in your life. And if you make an effort to figure out why you're lying, possibly by talking to your friends or therapist, you really can free up your brain. And here are a few surprising ways white lies can impact your mental health. Well, so far I'm in on it. Let's see. They can wear you out emotionally. Yes. While they may not feel like a big deal in the moment, the problem with white lies is that they require maintenance. If you tell a small white lie once, you then have to remember what you said in order to maintain the story, and so on and so forth from there. This can feel like an exhausting charade, especially if you've told one lie white lie to each person in your life, and these people come together for your birthday, Shane says. If it's significant, it may not snowball, but if you know this information will come up again, it may be best just to stick with the truth. Yeah. Haven't we all been in that situation when we say something and later these two people will never meet, so I can say this to this person, I can say this to that person, and everything will be happy till they meet.
Yep. Well, or like someone I know a couple weeks ago told somebody like they were invited to like a cookout gathering, whatever, and they told the people there that the other person didn't come with them because they went and did something else. And I was like, they're on Facebook, right? And you're friends with them. So you better make sure you don't post anything on there. Otherwise, all they have to do is look at Facebook and go, oh, you didn't do this. And it's like that simple. In the world we live in now, everything's documented by so many people. It's also going to get harder to lie. If you need proof of that, look at athletes, politicians, anyone in the public eye.
Yeah, and it's
what's one of the fun one that I'm experiencing through my friends. They're when they're either on Tinder or some other thing, and they try to set up a date and they get blown off, and then if you go on there, it's tracking you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying where you are. Mm-hmm. And so I don't feel like going on. I'm just going to stay home tonight. And then all of a sudden, boom, they pop up on whatever social media, their location changes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, it was already hard enough, like the scenario that you brought up, that like, okay, I got to remember who I said what to and hope that they never come together.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. And now to top it all off, there's all these, because these are useful features for many of us on our phones, but they're also can let other people know where we are and what we're doing.
Yep.
The next one is they keep you from addressing the real issue. When telling white lies, it's important to ask yourself why you're doing it. Because whether you can admit this to yourself or not, white lies are almost always a way of covering up a deeper truth. Instead of focusing on the real issue, being honest with loved ones, or uncovering a few truths in therapy, white lies have a way of piling more problems onto your plate. And that can, for obvious reasons, make the situation much worse. Sorry for all the popping of the peas there, folks. But yes, that's completely true. Because for the most part, I'm a people pleaser, and I know that when you're a people pleaser, you tend to tell more white lies than probably someone who's not necessarily a people pleaser. Mm-hmm. Just because you don't want to hurt feelings, you don't want to make anyone feel bad, and you're very concerned with how the emotional well-being of the other person. So this leans to, instead of, no, I don't want to do that, kind of like in your situation, Henno, oh, I think I'm just going to stay in today. I'm not feeling all that well. Mm-hmm. It seems to be a nicer way of turning someone down. Yeah. But
meanwhile, they see on Untappd that you've checked in 12 beers on the night from 4 different bars. Yeah.
The real issue is not them. The real issue is with me. There's what's causing me to have to be such a people pleaser. There's work and stuff that I need to be doing.
And we'll talk about that in a future episode.
Yes. So that I don't need to tell these white lies, that I can feel more comfortable in the art of saying no. Like we've talked about just a few weeks ago, is getting yourself into that place that it's okay to say, you know what, that just doesn't interest me. I appreciate you offering, but I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that I used to do as a people pleaser is make the story a little juicier. or make the bad story not quite as dramatic or whatever it is. Like take some of the edge off or add a little bit to it. And that's also not the truth.
Right.
And that's where I really appreciated mentors that would ask me, so what was your motive? What was your goal? Why? You know, because I've asked that to people that I've been mentoring, is the same thing, where it's just like, okay, you know, especially if I catch them in lying, and it's like, okay, there was no reason to lie about that. Why? I don't know. Like literally the answer is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, what was your motive? I honestly don't know. Well, then why did you do it? It's a habit, I guess. And it's like, then it's like, okay. And that's what I find is it's a practice.
Yeah.
And just as much as telling the truth is a practice, lying is a practice.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And it seems like in a lot of cases, the answer to it is like the reason people lie so much is they're afraid of the confrontation. Whether that's getting,
one of them.
You know, getting in trouble, or it's just you know, like you know, if someone says, "Hey, do I look okay?" and you look at them and go, "Oh, geez," you know, but oh yeah, you look great, you know, like that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
But
the confrontation is one thing. I also think we all want to be liked.
Yeah.
You know, we all have that. You know, we all want to be the person that everyone wants to hang out with and everyone likes. Those are the people that tell the best stories. They're the ones that give the best compliments. They're the ones that, you know, those people. But those people are also the most, quote unquote, genuine. So if you are that person, but you're not being genuine, it's going to eventually read as disingenuous, and it's going to catch up to you. So even if the story isn't, we make the story a little juicier because we want to be liked. It's not necessarily going to be that long lived.
Right.
You know, the opportunity it's going to wear on you, and it's going to take you down at some point.
Yeah. I've got a great example popping into my head, but we don't have time for me to tell the whole story. But it was something that happened when Tony and I had our comic shop. There was a couple guys that would lie all the time about stuff, and we didn't believe them from minute one, but it just got more of a lie and more of a lie to where it was just comical, to where now, 14 years later, it's still a joke. To where one of the teams in our fantasy league named their team after the joke.
I saw that and I lost it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how that turned out. It didn't make us like the person more. It made us ridicule them. And, you know, because they just, even when they were confronted with the truth, they doubled down. They would not admit that they were lying. They just kept doubling down. So we were just like, well, let's see how far they'll go. You know? And it's just so much work. I can't imagine trying to remember all the stuff they had to remember to try to keep things straight for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that, like, where I see it really manifest itself, and it can also happen with mental health issues the same way, is something has to give. You either, you know, the anxiety of it or the fear, all the covering up makes you drink more, or it makes you do what other bad behaviors that you have, whether it's from a mental health standpoint or an addiction standpoint. Either way, you're going to somehow harm yourself in the process.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, you know, one of the things, you know, a good friend of mine, his story is just so motivating to me, because he tried to stop drinking over and over and over and over again and couldn't. And when he finally decided to just be honest one day at a time, he kept drinking for a while, but eventually that stopped as well. Because to me, he stopped treating an alcohol problem and started treating his alcoholism.
That makes sense.
Right? Because it's the behaviors. It's the whole idea of, when people refer to alcohol as the symptom, the drinking was a symptom of these bad behaviors. You know, he lived his life was just nothing but deceit. At the smallest level. I mean,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous how it'd be like, you know, oh, what time did you get in last night? Oh, I got in at about 10. Dude, I saw you in town at 8:30. And why would you lie?
Yeah.
Like, why do I care?
Right.
I don't. Why would you lie about that? It was just a habit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the behavior. And the drinking was the part of the covering it up. You know, it just, it cracked me up.
Wow. Yeah. I got to where, like with me, it was, you know, I was at times making stuff up to not go to things because, again, as the people pleaser, I didn't want to tell people no because I knew they'd get disappointed. So I figured, you know, the way my distorted thinking was working is that, you know, if I tell them this or this, then it won't be as big of a deal. And eventually it just got to the point that I'm just like, first of all, and I've been saying this for a long time, not that I'm the first, but it's I've been saying it meaning more like to myself, is that no is not a bad word. You know, no is an answer. If someone else won't take it, that's their problem, not yours. Well, you know, depending on the situation, but the scenario I'm using here, you know, so once I did that, I remember talking to my therapist about it, and she even was like, you know, I want you to not do those things. Like, if you don't want to do something, say you don't want to do something, or tell the truth why you can't. You know, because there were times like I didn't have money to do something, so I'd make something else up because I didn't want to keep saying I don't have money because I didn't want someone else to always try to pay for me, you know?
Yeah.
So she's like, tell them, you know, like, and that's what I've been doing. And I do that now, and it's so freeing. It's so much like, you know, also because by nature, whenever there's something coming up, my brain constantly is trying to come up with reasons for me to not do it. You know, that's a fight that I have consistently up until the point of doing whatever it is. And by not making those things up, like Henno, you were saying, I'm no longer practicing that behavior. So it's easier to fight those urges. It's more of an occasional thought rather than that constant thought because I was giving into the idea of making stuff up. You know, now that I'm not, I try really hard not to let that other stuff get in my head, you know. So in the long run, it'll just be better for myself, you know, in general.
Well, I mean, some other points, because you brought up some points that they talk about on here, but some other points are they can take a toll on your friendships.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of just even touched on that a little bit because, you know. If you want
proof of that, go download Salty Language episode 47. It's titled Just Keep Calling, and listen to me and Tony talk about how it almost cost me our friendship.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, you're 100% right, because it is. I mean, some of the strongest friendships can be brought down by the littlest of lies. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and even the best natured lies. You know, that shouldn't, in the scheme of things, seem to make a difference, can make all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
They can lead to anxiety, which I think we've talked about. Something that I saw on Coupling, which is a British TV show, I mentioned on my other podcast, Shake the Sheets, on this last episode.
Henno, make sure you get a plug for your other podcast in too. Shameless plugging.
Shameless. Absolutely shameless.
Sorry.
But no, I did talk about it on the other show, and the same reason kind of came up. It was the cupping episode. Do you remember that one, Brian? Where they were talking about laughing and how it's like
you mean
a cup, a pyramid?
Giggle loop.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
The giggle loop?
Yep.
It's
a tough video to find, but yeah, are you talking about like where eventually like you'll laugh and it's something you're not supposed to laugh at?
Yes, because every time you don't laugh, it's a cup that gets added to the pyramid, and eventually the pyramid falls down, and okay, so it's called the giggle loop.
Giggle loop, yeah.
But it's kind of like that, like with the whole lies thing, that it just, every lie that you tell is just another cup that goes into this pyramid. And pretty soon, that pyramid, you can keep adding to that, and you start getting more and more anxious. Like the House of Cards or building a pyramid out of cups. You get more anxious the more cups you add to it, and pretty soon it's going to fall down. In their situation, it was a giggle loop, and they knew that they had to laugh, and eventually they ended up laughing at a very inappropriate time.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it can be an anxiety loop. It can be, lies upon lies upon lies upon lies. Just keep creating that anxiety levels and keeps building that up and building that up until eventually it's going to snap. It's going to fall down, and it's going to cause a lot of trouble. So instead of building up that anxiety, don't start.
Yep. And hold on really quick, Jen. I'm putting a link in the show notes to the clip of the giggle loop. Perfect.
Thank you. Mm. The next one is you might start to feel isolated. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Did you feel isolated?
Mm-hmm. It's amazing how many of these things we talk about, and I'm always the one. I feel like I'm so many times the one going, yep. I'm a mess.
Hannah and I have bared our souls too.
Oh, I know. I'm just. Yeah.
We've done our ownerships too.
Yep.
They can affect your sleep. I have been up many a night because of things that I've said, mm-hmm. and stress and worry and anxiety that I'm going to be found out, and so-and-so's going to get mad at me because I said something I shouldn't have said, or the worst, I hate when I'm a very open person, and I'll tell you anything about me, and and I'll talk about anything. Someone gives me a secret, it's really hard for me. Brian knows this. He's known me long time, so he understands. And it's not because I don't want to keep someone's secret. It's not that I want to gossip. I'm just a sharing person. I share everything.
It's because she wants to gossip. Don't listen to her. No.
I'm just such a person. I share everything about myself that I forget that some people aren't that way. Mm-hmm. And they're entitled to their privacy. And sometimes people share things with me that they don't want shared with the world.
Right.
And I forget sometimes that's that point, that. So it's much easier now that I've gotten away from those bad behaviors. It's much easier now, but it's still kind of difficult to keep a secret. I'm not going to lie. I do my best, but I may not be the best person to entrust with the golden secrets. Sorry.
But hey, that if you can at least say that, up front, because I had somebody on, it was post podcast, and they said, there's something I'd like to, talk to you about, but you can't tell anybody. And I'm like, no problem. It goes in the lockbox. And my lockbox does not even open for my wife. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a lot of people that say I don't keep any secrets from my significant other. And I'm like, I do, because I want people to trust me.
Yeah.
And so if it's, and I'll say it right, is this lockbox? Like, yeah, this has to be a lockbox. Okay, done.
Yeah.
And Sharon understands that because she has things that are lockbox as well.
Right.
And it's not about us deceiving each other. It's about being trustworthy to somebody else, which is who we weren't. So that's why we respect each other on that.
Right.
And I have gotten much better, and I do ask the qualifying questions beforehand. Yeah. I always qualify things ahead of time. I'm like, okay, is this something I can share with Hubs? Mm. Is this, like, how lockbox are we talking here?
Yeah.
And is this something that I can keep secret? And if they tell me something and it's something I can't, then I'll own it to them. And I'll say, you know what? I'm not the person. I'll stop them ahead of time and say, I'm not the person to talk to you about this particular subject. I'll, that this is not something that I can keep quiet about. So you might want to pick someone else for confiding in.
Right.
So, but they can create trust issues. Yeah, I think that's a pretty obvious one. Yes, yep. Absolutely. Get caught in a lie, major trust issues. They can create a sense of insecurity. Ever have a loved one or a partner tell you a white lie and you find out about it? And all of a sudden, everything else that they've said to you becomes suspect. And, you know, it's does that dress really look good on me? Or is he doing that? Instant insecurities. Maybe he doesn't love how round my hips are, and he's just saying that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Since trust go hand in hand, the net effect of telling white lies over time is a deep sense of fear and insecurity that permeates all of our relationships, professional, platonic, and romantic. In short, when we tell white lies, we are more likely to feel insecure. So both parties feel more insecure. So not just the person that you're lying to, but also you. That makes sense.
Yep.
They lower your self-esteem. Yeah, because you can't really feel good about yourself if you're lying. It just doesn't go well together.
Yeah, and if you've learned how to be okay with it, you got other issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just going to say that too.
And number 10, they can lead you to feel misunderstood. So, you know.
Does it have an explanation for that one?
Yes. In order for people to treat you the way you'd like to be treated, and in order for people to get you kind of need to be honest. So don't be surprised if after telling a white lie you feel misunderstood. By telling little white lies, you could give others a false impression of who you are and what you are going through. If you lie to your friends, boss, etc. about how much you can handle or your own emotional health, they could falsely assume that piling more on you or having a higher expectation in you is acceptable. Then when you can't deliver or fall short, they have little to no empathy or can't take your failures personally. And that can lead to a vicious cycle. So definitely think about why you want to tell a white lie, as well as the impact it may have if you do. Save for a few rare occasions, it's almost better always to tell the truth.
Okay.
That is the end of the article.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was curious exactly what they were, why that one was in there. The first part of it was what I was kind of assuming, because I was thinking of it in ways of, like online dating, the profiles or whatever, because there's so many people that, like, I don't know, you get vibes from people on online dating profiles, like you'll look and like, I know plenty of people that have swiped left on somebody because they have a bunch of pictures of them like mountain climbing, even though it was from one trip like 6 years ago or something, you don't know those things, but you get the feeling like, oh, they really like being outdoorsy, that's not for me, and you swipe. So it's like, or there's other people that some of the stuff they post and you're like, oh, it's like, oh, come on. Like it just seems, and it's like, you feel like they're being creative with their wording or something like that. And, those are the kind of things that lead to those dates where, you show up and the person doesn't look anything like their pictures or,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you guys, brought up the topic, because I came to quite a good conversation, I believe.
Yeah. That was great.
Yep.
Oh. Are we good?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. Well, folks, you want to continue the conversation with us? You know how to do it. You can reach out to us at thecrazylife.weebly.com is our website. I'm sorry, the crazylifepodcast.weebly.com is our website. The Crazy Life Podcast at Outlook.com is our email address. You can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life, Jen with a G, or Dits with D-Tits. And you, Henno, how can they reach you?
Find me on Twitter at Ida Henno. You can find me on Facebook, Henno Heiter, and Instagram, and Snapchat, and yada, yada, yada.
Your dulcet tones one more time. Where can they hear your voice? Other podcast?
Oh, if you want to hear something really fun and not safe for work, like if you really want to enjoy a conversation that you didn't think you'd enjoy about a story, then that is definitely put your headphones in. Go check out the Gotham Lights podcast, which is currently titled as the Orville Lights podcast, because me and a friend reviewed a bit of erotica.
Nice.
And it was hilarious and a lot of fun. And it's gonna be a trilogy, so we're gonna follow up with the next in the series next month.
Nice.
Awesome. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, how can you?
You can find the show on Twitter also at The Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other podcast at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. Speaking of things that you should make sure you have, your earbuds or earphones on for, that show's not safe for work. Excuse me. We're part of the Tangentbound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. Come join our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. Again, all of these links are in, or all of this information's in the show notes, and again, the Giggle Loop thing, I'll have the link to the article we talked about in there also. If you'd like to help the show out, we'd really appreciate it if you, whatever app you're using, if you could rate, review, and subscribe if you haven't already. Or, use the like or share options that they may have, to maybe help us get some new, listeners. Or please share our Twitter post with our show links or our Facebook post if you join the group. To share them with friends that you think may get something out of the show. We would greatly appreciate it. And then, of course, I always want to, point out to everybody that if you feel as though you need help, please reach out. There's tons of answers out there for you. A lot of times you have to take that very difficult, I understand, first step. And if you want to help others, please reach out to them. If you have friends with, mental illness issues, please reach out to them, see how they're doing. Make sure they're doing okay, excuse me, then, also reach out to your friends that are the ones that tell you that, they're fine. Because a lot of times that's somebody hiding behind a mask that may have, bigger issues in their life or whatever. Just reach out to them because, you make their day better. At least let them know that you care or you love them or whatever. And then, you never know when, that one message or phone call or whatever might save somebody's life or keep them from doing something drastic.
Absolutely. Cannot agree with you more on that. And you know what? I just wanted to add a little extra something to that. Something I've noticed a lot going on Twitter, because that's where I happen to be spending a lot of my free time right now, is a lot of negativity, a lot of hateful words, but also a lot of sadness. So if you see someone's posting and they're continuously posting sad stuff, slide into their DMs. Don't be afraid. Worst thing that can happen, so what, you get blocked. Best thing that can happen, maybe you're giving somebody the positive message that they need to hear for that day. Take the chance, take the risk. It's worth it. I've done it to quite a few people now, and just a simple, hey, are you okay? I saw some of your posts are getting a little negative. I just wanted to touch, or a little sad. I just wanted to touch base and let you know that I'm here. I'm up and I'm willing to listen. So if you need somebody, I'm here. Something as simple as that, you don't know. Maybe that could change everything for them. Maybe it's something that they're just posting a sad day and they're fine. You don't know. It's worth it. Take that risk.
Yep.
And with that, folks, have a great week.